Hello and welcome again. In this part, we will discuss the audit reporting. In our last video, we discussed the audit execution. We understood how to execute an audit, what are the planning phases, what is the difference between audit methodology and audit program, and also we discussed the evidences. We discussed what are the factors that affect the reliability of the evidence, what is the chain of custody, and how to test controls or evaluate a certain control. We said that any finding should be documented in what is called audit report. In this part, we are discussing purely how to communicate audit result, what is the audit report, what are the audit documentations, and all of these aspects that will make you competent to pass your CISA exam. First, we need to understand that audit objectives or audit report, the main objective is to report the findings or include the findings in the report. However, this is not only the objective of audit report. Audit report, as per the review manual version 27, has 6 additional objectives or 6 objectives documenting the findings in one of these objectives. First objective is to present audit result, serve as formal closure for the audit engagement, provide a statement of assurance, and serve as valued reference for any party that is checking the compliance of the organization or the auditee. Also, the audit report is served as a basis for the follow-up audit. In follow-up audit, we check after closing the audit mission if our findings has been addressed or not. So, based on dates defined or specified in the audit report or the audit final report, we can use these dates in order to conduct our follow-up report. Also, the audit report promotes audit credibility, so it should be well developed and well written. When communicating audit result or communicating audit report, the audit report is prepared by auditor and need to be reported to the audit committee. However, the audit committee is the highest level of management because it is called Audit Committee of Board or ACB. So, Audit Committee of Board is the entity or is the phase or the board that we are delivering our audit report to it. However, before sending the audit final report to the audit committee, the draft report should be discussed with the auditee management or the executive management. The goal of discussion is to gain an agreement on the findings and develop a course of corrective actions, because the audit report will not only include audit findings, but it should include recommendations, plan, and timing of closing these findings. So this should be based on agreement with audit management. And when we say here audit management, we are not mentioning or we're not discussing the board of directors. We are discussing the executive management or the management who are responsible for the operation. The discussion of audit draft report is happened in what is called the closure or exit interview meeting. And in case we didn't reach an agreement with the auditee, auditor should emphasize the findings' criticality and the risk if no corrective action has been taken. Of course, this need to be supported by evidences. So everything is about evidences. And even if the auditee took a corrective action for any of the findings discussed in the draft report, the findings should be reported in the final report as well. You may write that in a side note that a specific finding has been closed or had been remediated. However, as per the audit standards, you need to report any findings. So, communicating audit result start by exit interview while we are discussing the audit draft report with the management of the auditee, operational management. And let's conclude the objectives of this exit interview. First is to ensure the facts present in the report are correct, ensure recommendations are realistic, cost effective, or in another word, effective and efficient. And I believe we discussed what does efficient mean. So efficient is another term or another synonym for cost effective. If the recommendation is not realistic or not cost effective, we need to seek alternative through negotiation with audit management. Discussing recommendations with the audit management or auditee management, also recommend the implementation dates and agreed upon actions. So this is the objectives of the exit interview or the closure meeting. So now we had an agreement, we discussed all of that, and we formulated the follow-up date or the expected date of closing a finding. So we now have the final report, and final report should present IS auditor or information system auditor findings and recommendations to management. This is a product of IS audit work. So final report should be sent to audit committee. Audit team should have, or audit management should have free access to audit committee board of director or audit committee of the board, and report should be balanced, describing not only negative issues, but in turn it should discuss also the positive points that has been noted in the auditee environment. Also, it should has a statement regarding processes, controls, and the status or controls already in place. IS auditor can present the result of the audit report in executive summary or in a visual presentation. So one of the best ways is how to show your work, and this can be done using visual presentation. Audit report is a document meant to be shared with auditee. Key elements of audit report, of course, the structure of audit report is dependent, and it will be of course dependent on the organization itself. So the audit report does not have a unified format, but however, the audit report should have a list of core elements. First element is an introduction to the report. What is the objectives, limitations, scope of the audit, and the period of audit coverage. Let's say, for example, are we auditing a quarter or a whole year? General statement about procedures conducted and what is the methodology of the audit in terms of collecting evidences and so on. And after then, audit findings grouped in sections according to its criticality and or based on the recipient. For instance, we can include the points or findings related to a specific department as a group and other department as another group. This is, of course, if we are speaking about integrated auditing report. And after then, IS auditor should include in the final report overall conclusion and opinion and actual potential risk identified and so on. So that was about the audit report, and one of the key differentiation and one of the important aspects in relation to audit report is that audit report is related to auditee. So it is owned or it will be shared with the auditee. However, audit documentation provide a way or created by the auditor, but it is for the auditing firm itself. So it includes the steps and includes the procedures of collecting evidences, some of the process performed or conducted by auditor. So it is a property of the auditing entity and cannot be shared by the auditee. Audit documentation should be dated, numbered, kept in custody, and properly labeled. The reason why for this is that audit documentation will support the auditee whenever someone or any other entity claims that his audit result was not accurate and so on. So in audit documentation, we could have like the steps of sampling, the steps for many aspects, and how evidences has been collected. So this will support the position of the auditor. Documentations must include all information required, all contractual term, everything that should be aligned with auditing standard. If you need to know more about audit documentation, I prefer or I advise you to refer to the IT Assurance Framework by ISACA. They have a guideline number 2002-03, and this is related to performance and supervision, and you will find a lot of information related to audit documentation in this specific guideline. So follow-up activity is very important because auditing is an ongoing process. What is the importance of finding if it will not be closed? So follow-up is simply help us to ensure or to have an assurance that the audit findings will be treated with care, because follow-up intended to provide assurance that follow-up activities has been done. Follow-up timing depends on the criticality of the finding, of course, and agreed upon dates with management that was included in the audit report during the exit interview, if you can remember. Result of the follow-up audit should be communicated to appropriate level of management. So that was all parts or all points that we need to discuss in relation to audit report and communicating audit result. I hope the information is clear, and see you in the next video.